Sutta discourse on the nurturing of vipassana insight for 1 hour. This has been extracted from the Anguttara Nikaya, the book of gradual sayings, Panchaka Nipata. Anugrahita means supporting, protecting, nurturing. Only when the necessary support is given will one be able to accomplish one's purpose. Now, those of you who have come here to undertake the practice of Satipatthana are doing so in order to observe the characteristics of psychophysical phenomena which are subject to cause and effect, conditioned phenomena. And as they watch these phenomena, they will observe the arising and passing away of these psychophysical phenomena. And as they observe the arising and passing away of these phenomena, they will come to realize that these phenomena, these objects, are unsatisfactory. And what is impermanent and unsatisfactory cannot be self or soul. Frightful, they will be considered as frightful, nothing to depend on, because they arise on their own, at their will, not at your will. In this way, you come to observe the variety of characteristics of the objects noted. And once you are able to progress along the path to maturity, you will come to the end of the road, coming to your goal of realizing the path consciousness and the fruit of the path. Then you will attain the ultimate peace of Nibbana. This is penetration of the truth, so that you will be fulfilled with your practice. And since at this stage you are able to overcome the negative undermining elements of greed, hatred, delusion, your mind is said to become very powerful enough to overcome good and bad conditions. Whenever you come across the worldly conditions, whether they're good or bad, you will be able to withstand such conditions. You will possess spiritual stamina. At this stage, you'll be able to withstand the mental diseases, psychotropic diseases, such as the depression, stress, and all these things which happen in materialistic countries. In this way, you'll be able to realize the real happiness. Otherwise, with your material things, living with material things, you will not be able to realize the true happiness, because you are subject to stress, strain, depression, and all these things. Now this Dhamma, the practice of Dhamma, is something to depend upon when it comes to such psychiatric diseases. That Dhamma gives security. So, we are discussing this Vipassana Samadhi, the right view of insight. In order to protect or nurture or take care of this Vipassana Samadhi, we have discussed 5 ways of nurturing. Once we're able to nurture our sapling of insight in this way, we'll be able to progress along the path of insight knowledge until we come to the goal of realizing the path consciousness, followed by the fruit of the path, and seeing Nibbana. So although this discourse, that is Anukheda Suttanta, is brief, it is very essential and very important. So as we have discussed yesterday, out of 5 ways of nurturing the right view of insight, Vipassana Samadhi, we began with Sila Nughita, the nurturing by way of morality. With moral practice, we have to nurture our insight practice. Only when we are fulfilled with morality, will you be able to cultivate insight knowledge, the right view of insight. Therefore, Sila becomes the proximate cause for the realization of the insight, Vipassana Samadhi. So in order to cultivate insight knowledge, first of all, we have to learn or study the correct method of practice by listening and so on. That is in the beginning. And also in the course of the practice, one has got to listen to the discourses in order to be on the right path, such as Sutta Nugheta, nurturing by way of learning. One has got to take care of, look after our insight knowledge, insight practice, by learning, listening. We cannot do it blindly. We cannot do it by mere intellectual reasoning. Next comes the Sakicha Nughita, nurturing by way of discussion. In the case of yogis, they go to the teachers every day and report their observations, by which they can discuss with the competent teachers about their practice, whether they are on the correct path or not. So in this way, you do the discussion. This is one way of nurturing the sapling of insight. So this is one way, and you have to overcome also the negative elements, undermining elements, such as raga, dosa, craving, aversion, all these kilesas. When these kilesas attack you, your mind will not be stable. You will be shaken, you will be excited by these undermining elements, such as craving, aversion. Then it becomes necessary to tranquilize your mind, such as Samatha Nughita, nurturing by way of samatha or tranquility or concentration, so that your mind would not become excited, your mind would not waver, it will become concentrated. And also, in the course of practice, you may be experiencing the delightful situations, the conditions of the practice, of the Dhamma, thinking that they are very good, or taking them as something special, something unique, that you have achieved something, then you become attached to such delightful experiences. In that case, you have to be guided by the teachers in order to continue to cultivate the powerful or strong form of insight. This is known as Balava Vipassana. So the yogis have to be supported by way of powerful insight practice. In this way, if you are supported in these 5 ways, you will be progressing from the basics through the insight path to higher stages. And then you'll be able to realize the end of the path. So, this much has been given by the Buddha in brief, but the commentaries have elaborated this discourse by way of examples and analogies, so that yogis will be able to understand better, and this will be discussed from now on. In order to clarify the meaning of the essence of this discourse, the commentaries have given the analogy in the form of gardening or planting a sweet mango tree. First and foremost, this gardener sowed the seed, sweet mango seed. Then he or she builds a fence around this garden so as to prevent external things like animals and things like that trampling on the sapling. At times, he or she waters the plant and works the soil so that the root will go very easily into the ground. Sometimes the gardener has got to feed this plant with fertilizers. And in the course of the growth of this sapling, it may be attacked by insects and pests. In that case, the gardener has got to prevent the insects from attacking these plants by suitable means. And if at all the plant or plants are attacked by insects or pests, then the gardener will have to remove these insects or pests by suitable means. And at times, in the course of this plant, in the course of the growth of this plant, the cobwebs and creepers might grow and wrap around this plant so as to retard the growth, in which case the gardener has got to remove these cobwebs and creepers. So in this way, if the gardener looks after, nurtures this sweet mango plant systematically, as we have just discussed, things which are necessary to be done, then the sweet mango sapling or small plant will grow and grow until it bears sweet fruit, flowers, buds and sweet fruit, so that then it will be ready for those who wants to eat this sweet mango. Then such is the analogy given by the commentaries as regards the nurturing of sapling of vipassana insight. When we are making comparisons, the one which is compared is known as in Pali as Upameya. Now the analogy given here is the plantation of sweet mango tree or sapling. Now a gardener is compared to yogis who are undertaking the practice. And the plantation, the process of planting, is compared to vipassana samadhi, a right view of insight. And the yogis want to nurture, as much as the yogis want to nurture the sapling of insight, so too, as much as the gardener wants to or is nurturing the mango plant, so too the yogis are nurturing the insight practice, right view of insight. So when you're able to do that and the plant grows successfully, you'll be able to reap the sweet mango fruit in the form of path and fruition knowledge. So at this moment, we are sowing the seed of Vipassana Samadhi or sweet mango tree. Of course, we will not be able to cultivate insight knowledge as soon as we start sowing the seeds. It's just like the gardener, it has to sow the seed first before the seed sprouts into a sapling. So this is how one starts. Just as the gardener starts sowing the seed, so too the yogis start nurturing the insight, sapling of insight. Once you have sown the seed, you cannot just leave it as it is, because all the animals and people will trample on it. So you have to build a strong fence around the garden. This is like observing sila, morality. If we leave it as it is, if we leave the garden as it is without proper fencing, or if we, it's just like not practicing any sila, then it will not be under control. It will not be properly controlled. So as to control one's physical, verbal behaviors, one has got to practice morality, observe the precepts. As for the monks, there are precepts, and they have to sustain it so as not to break it or weaken it. They have to be able to observe it. And as for lay yogis, the minimum precepts that they should observe is the 5 precepts, at least. Then we have 8 precepts, 10 precepts and so on to be observed in order to purify one's moral conduct, morality, sila, visuddhi, purity by way of moral conduct, so as not to weaken or break these precepts. Then only one will be protecting one's sapling of insight, just as protecting the sweet mango plant by the gardener. So this is a fencing is like observing sila. One has got to understand the benefit of the practice of sila, the initial benefit and the continuing benefit with observation of sila. If one doesn't have any conviction, any confidence, lack of faith, if one has lack of faith in observation of sila, then one will not be able to purify one's mind, let alone cultivate the right view of insight. Just like when a gardener is planting the sweet mango plant, he or she has got to look after it properly. If the gardener leaves it, neglects this plant without any protection, then this plant will never grow. Even if it grows, the plant will not be strong enough to bear fruit. And even if it bears fruit, a weak plant will not be able to bear ripe, good, sweet fruit. So too with the practice of sila. Even one has got to have faith and confidence in order to sustain sila. Even if one practices sila, if the sila is weak, or broken, then you will not be able to realize reap the benefit of the insight, the right understanding of insight, vipassana samadhi. It will not bear fruit. So understanding this, one has got to understand, one has got to observe, sustain this sila so as not to break or weaken it. After the gardener has sown the seeds of sweet mango plant, mango fruit, mango seeds, he or she has got to water the plant so as to let it grow properly. Such is like Sudha Nughita, nurturing by way of listening to the Dhamma talk. Now if the gardener waters the plant too much, then also the plant will die. It'll drown in the water. And if you don't water the plant also, it'll dry up and will not grow and give rise to sweet mango fruit. So too, yogis have got to listen to suitable Dhamma discourses, Sabhaya Dhamma Savana in Pali, which supports the practicing yogis. In order first of all to know what is the correct method of practice in the beginning, then in the course of the practice, there may be some shortcomings in the yogis, or maybe some excesses. This have to be adjusted by way of listening to the Dhamma discourses, just as Sayadaw is giving now 1 hour every day. Such is known as Sabhaya Dhamma Savana, listening to the suitable Dhamma. If you go on listening the whole day, then also it will be like the gardener watering the plant too much. You will die off. The yogi will get fed up of listening to the talk. And if the yogi does not listen also, what will happen? They will get bored, dried up. They want to hear the good Dhamma. So, just as the gardener has got to water the plant in a suitable manner, neither too much nor too little, so too the yogis need to listen the Dhamma talk in a suitable way, not too much, not too little. Such is how one supports or nurtures the sapling of insight. Then, at this point, the sapling will grow because the gardener is looking after by way of watering and so on. At that moment, we have to see that the root of that sapling or tree should go into the earth, into the soil freely. So in order to do that, you have to walk into the soil. But sometimes you have to feed the plant with the fertilizer, suitable fertilizer, so that it will grow well. So too, just as the gardener works the soil or feed the plant with fertilizer, so do the yogis have got to go to the teachers and discuss with them or report their observations to the teacher so that they can be well on the path, on the right path of practice. Such is Sakecha Nughita, nurturing by way of nurturing the insight sapling by way of discussion or reporting. Once they are able to do that, then they will become clear of doubts about the correctness of the practice. So whatever is not clear, they can clarify these things so that they will be able to walk along the path of practice without any difficulty, such as yogis' interview with the meditation teachers is very important. It makes sense. For those yogis who have not walked this path, at times they will be going the wrong way. They may think that they are doing the right thing, but they may be going the wrong way. They may have wrong perception as regards the truth of the practice. In which case, when they see the meditation teachers, they will give guidance. They can correct the practice, make corrections, and if there's any shortcomings, they can fill up these shortcomings. If there are gaps, they can fill up these gaps. And in order to do that, it is necessary for them to go and see the meditation teachers according to the time schedule. When they do so, the meditation teachers will be able to help such yogis from all aspects. Such as the yogis will report in this way, whether they are able to note the objects as they arise intensively, attentively, with proper cohesion, proper aiming, and proper noting, whether they are able to note the main object, because the main objects are prescribed, and it is necessary for them whether they are able to note the main object with precisely and with proper aiming. Whether they are able to do it consistently, that is the next step. First of all, the work, whether they do the work, that means whether they know the object as they arise. The next comes the quality of that work, whether it is consistent, whether they are able to do it consistently. So first the work, then the quality of that work. After that, the third step, if they are able to note what are their observations, they have to report their observations correctly. For instance, when rising takes place, rising of the abdomen takes place, they note it as such. What do they observe? Do they observe the form of the abdomen, or the manner of rising and falling, or the characteristics, the feelings and sensations, such as heat, cold, stiffness, tension, and so on? These things will be reported to the teacher, so that the teachers will be able to give guidance. So, whatever is noted will be reported. If, however, they are not able to stay with the main object, for instance, rising at the main object, what happens to the noting mind? The noting mind has gone elsewhere, gone astray, not at home. What happens to that mind? Has it gone back to your home? Or is your noting mind drawn to something unbearable, pain, excruciating pain as you sit for some time? If that is so, then what do you observe as regards that pain? If you are able to note consistently that pain, what happens? What is the nature of the pain that you observe? Is it very intense pain? Is it very strong, powerful pain? Or is it moving pain? or is it changing, pain, mutation, and so on? All these things will be reported to the teacher. Or sometimes your mind, noting mind, may come back to the main object. In that case also, you have to report accordingly. So if in this way the yogis report like this, then the yogis are helping the teachers so as to be able to give necessary guidance. If you are able to do that for dedicated yogis, Sayadaw says that you'll be able to be fulfilled with insight knowledge within the span of 3 weeks. Now, if you go to the teacher and report in this way, the teachers will be too glad to help you. Please don't consider that they are investigating you like a police. They are only here to help you, not like inquiring, like a detective or a police officer. So if you consider these Dhamma teachers, the meditation teachers, as members of your Dhamma family, just like you speak openly to members of your Dhamma family, members of your household family, so too, when you are reporting your observations to the meditation teachers, you do so openly, transparently, without any reservations, without any obligations. Not to be afraid that they may blame you or whatever, because they are here to help you. So, when you are doing so, when you are reporting to the teachers, please don't feel hesitant, don't feel ashamed of speaking out to the teachers. Please treat them as members of the Dhamma family. Now, as the plant grows, these plants can be attacked by insects or pests, and you have to prevent the insects from attacking the plants. And if at all the plants are attacked by insects or pests, you'll have to remove these insects by suitable means. So also in the course of the practice, the nivaranas, hindrances to progress, which are like the insects or pests, can attack you. In which case, you got to nurture your insight, suffering of insight, with the practice of samatha nughita, nurturing by way of samatha or concentration, so that you will not be excited or shaken or moved by these hindrances to progress, which are undermining elements such as craving, aversion, and so on, which will be discussed tomorrow. Sa